You're exhausted in a way that sleep just won't fix it. The vacation didn't touch it, getting up earlier doesn't help, and while you are running on empty, your coworker is wrapping up at 5 with a smile on his face, handling the exact same job in the exact same chaos and looking completely fine. And the voice in the back of your head keeps telling you the most painful explanation available. There must be something wrong with me. Well, there isn't. The reason you're burning out while they are not has nothing to do with willpower. If you give me a chance, by the end of this video, I promise that you'll understand why being efficient is actually working against you, why you cannot just care less the way everyone around you keeps telling you to do, and what is the actual mismatch between you and the person sitting next to you that seems completely unbothered by it. And at the end, I'll give you something to try. It will take about 3 minutes, but it will immediately show you what your battery is actually starving for right now, and once you know that, you stop guessing. Okay, let me guess how your current reality looks like, and I promise this is the only time I'm guessing things in this video. You are probably the organized one in your team. You have a system and you actually follow through. And because of that, you end up doing the job of 2 people just to keep things from falling apart. In other words, you make the impossible look easy, which, ask me how sustainable that turns out to be. Better not. But here is the dirty little secret about being efficient in a corporate environment. Management doesn't reward efficiency with time off. They basically reward it with giving you other people's work. You start noticing that the disorganized people, the ones that always drop the ball, somehow they always get the free pass. People literally stop expecting things from them, but in return, you get handed their work. What nobody actually sees is the invisible effort that costs you to hold this structure together. You're running at 200% internally just to project outside the competence of staying calm. It feels like you're being punished for being good at your job, and I genuinely get it, it's infuriating. By the way, my name is Mihna. I make videos on this channel about these hidden patterns behind why we behave in a certain way, at work and in life. If any of this is landing with you, subscribing genuinely helps. Okay, now let's go back to it. The worst part isn't actually the extra workload. The worst part is what happens when you finally hit your breaking point and you ask for help. Not too long ago, I hit this wall really hard, and for about 6 months, I was doing the work of 2 people without saying a word. If you ever done that, you already know what the breaking point feels like when it finally comes. I kept all the plates spinning, but something eventually had to give. So I did the normal thing. I scheduled a meeting with my manager. I laid it all out, the volume, the context switching constantly, the extra responsibilities, all of it. And to my naivety, I was expecting at least some basic acknowledgement of the effort. Instead, he brought up a colleague, for this reason let's call him John, a guy with 15 years more experience than me. And my manager said, well, when John had this role, he did more. Then he said something honestly I couldn't unhear. Because I was completing everything within the normal working hours, he looked at me and he said, so you have time. Excuse me? I was honestly completely stunned. I tried to explain him that finishing the work in the same number of times without doing overtime doesn't mean I have free time. It means that the internal effort is massively greater, and of course, you would be surprised he didn't get it. Eventually, someone else came in to take the second role, which meant that now I dropped to 1.5 jobs while I was training them. It was an improvement technically, but my manager and I never had a follow-up. It was no acknowledgement really, no closure, just straight back to business as usual. And when I heard that my invisible effort read as available capacity, honestly, I'm telling you, it broke something in me. So I asked myself, why was John completely fine while I was physically shaking from stress? I genuinely thought I was weak at the time, and it turns out I was completely wrong. For the longest time, I did the mistake to think that burnout is just simple math. It's too many hours, too much stress, and too little sleep. Makes sense, right? That wasn't all of it. It's not about the hours, it's about what the environment is actually asking you to be. I want you to imagine this and think about it like a battery. My battery, for example, recharges when I have structure, logic, time to think on my own, and honestly, I need some sarcastic humor just to keep things from not getting too heavy. If you give me these, I can work the whole day and I still feel fine at the end of it. But that office that I described earlier demanded the exact opposite. It's zero structure, constant interruption, and a lot of noise. The friction of just existing in that room was draining me 10 times faster than the actual work. And meanwhile, the people around me who generally thrive in that chaos, basically their battery charged on the exact things that my battery emptied. They weren't working harder than me, they weren't stronger than me. They were just in a room that fed them while I was in a room that was starving me. And that's the line I want you to sit with. The room that fed them is the same one that is starving you. And once you see that, you cannot unsee it. Here's where it gets worse, because once you see this mismatch, you realize you've been blaming yourself for something that was never actually your fault. The most damaging thing you can do to yourself isn't overthinking, it's comparison. You look across your office at your own version of John and you see him smiling, chatting at the coffee machine at 5 in the evening, completely unbothered, handling the exact same chaos that has you basically one notification away from closing your laptop and staring at the wall. And because nobody ever explains why the same environment hits people so differently, you land, unfortunately, on the most painful explanation available. There must be something wrong with me. You feel this quiet, private shame that you're somehow not resilient enough, that you should be able to handle the exact same things that they are handling. But here's what this comparison is actually missing. You're not measuring the same thing. You are comparing your internal fuel consumption to someone running on a completely different engine. Their room, as I said before, feeds them while yours, it's starving you. That's the mismatch. You didn't fail at the job. The job was basically running you on the wrong fuel. And you've been apologizing to yourself for a calibration problem that was never yours to fix. Who's your version of John? I want you to drop it in the comments because I promise seeing everyone else's answer is going to feel weirdly validating. So how do you actually start fixing this whole thing? Without, of course, rage quitting your job tomorrow, which fine, honestly, I fully understand the impulse. I tried everything at first. I took 2 weeks off and I came back feeling exactly the same. I bought a planner, I started getting up 1 hour earlier. I told myself that I just needed better routines, a better discipline, and a better system. You guessed, none of it worked, and not even close. Because every fix I tried was aimed at me, at how I was managing the situation, and the situation itself was the problem. The moment I stopped trying to fix it myself and started looking at what the environment was actually asking me to be every single day, something shifted. It's not immediately, and believe me, it's not dramatically, but the guilt starts to lift. What I had to accept was that I couldn't wait for my manager to suddenly understand my invisible effort, and at the same time, I couldn't wait for the company to redesign the environment around me what I needed. That's not coming, let's be honest. So instead of waiting, I had to get genuinely honest about one specific thing. What does my battery actually run on? What's my fuel right now? And not in theory, not what the productivity article online should say that it should work. What it actually works for me right now in the season I'm in. And once I got honest about that whole strategy changed, because basically you stop trying to get more resilient in a room that's starving you and you start to feed yourself outside of it. Which brings me to the thing I promised you at the start. Here is what I mean by feeding yourself. We all have something that our brain is genuinely starving for right now. And I don't mean in general, right now in this specific chapter of your life. And unfortunately, it's not the same for everyone, and it's not even the same for you at every point in your own life, which is the part that most people actually miss. When I was deep in that double job burnout, all I wanted was to disappear. It was total solitude. Don't talk to me, don't ask me anything, just let me exist quietly somewhere by myself. That was my fuel at the time. Right now, that's completely shifted. What actually charges me right now is lightness. Just being able to joke around, not take everything so seriously, have some real fun with the people around me if you want. If I don't get that, my energy drops noticeably within days. Your battery might run on something completely different. Let me give you some examples. Maybe what you're genuinely starving for is recognition from someone whose opinion you actually respect. Maybe it's structure, quiet, the satisfaction of finishing something properly. Maybe it's just a real warmth, feeling genuinely connected with the people around you. The point is that I'm trying to make, most people have never stopped to ask. They are just grinding forward and wondering why it never gets better. So here's the thing I want you to try. Think about the last time you felt genuinely good after a day of work. And I don't mean productive, not busy, genuinely good. Write down the first 3 things that were different about that day. And basically that's your fuel. That's what your battery runs on. Everything else is just noise. Don't bother about it. And once you know what it is, you stop apologizing for needing it, because that's not optional, that's maintenance. But even knowing your fuel doesn't protect you from a sneakier version of this, because sometimes you're not exhausted or frustrated. Unfortunately, you just stop caring. You're showing up, you're still hitting your deadlines, doing everything right, and at the end of the day feeling absolutely nothing. That quiet, flat version of running on empty is in some ways more dangerous, because that doesn't feel like burnout. It feels like you. I know it's hard to say. That's what the next video is about, and I've been linked it somewhere up here on the screen. I'll see you in there. Until then, please take care of yourself. Bye bye.